Chakshurmilitam jena tasmai Shivurave Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityananda Namaste Sarasvati Devi Gauravani Prachari Nirveshesha Sunyavadi Prachatya. C'est un verset qui est très important.
This is a verse that is very important because most people don't understand why this world exists. They think that if God exists, there should not be suffering. But the Vedas explain to us a point of view that is different. It is that the soul, the jiva, is an integral part of the Supreme Lord. What does it mean? That means there's an unlimited, the soul has 60% of the Lord's qualities, 50%. And then, of course, she has a free will. And this free will, what does it mean? I can do a good choice or a bad choice. I can have a success or a failure. I can be with him, or I can try to make my own world, create my world that will be finally my kingdom. So we see what is the material. What is the material world? It is an opportunity that the Lord gives us. If you want to be independent from me, you have qualities to build. You have the qualities to be worshipped. You have all of this of, yes, I give you a world, and now you will be the one creating it. But the problem is that the living entity is very small. And in his smallness, he has naturally, without the company of the Lord, he will create in himself a situation that is not good. Why? Because when we're all small, we cannot experience much. And with small beings, we cannot experience much. And naturally, we will have a frustration that will bring wrong qualities, wrong tendencies, wrong nature. And when people develop the wrong nature, what do? They will cheat others and desire to be happy without considering the happiness of others. And that's what we see finally in the material world. You have powerful people who exploit less powerful people. Powerful people do not find happiness by exploiting because nobody is happy by doing wrong on others. And those who are exploited, they are not happy to be exploited. So never someone is really satisfied, except in the movies. For example, when we project a movie, it is a beautiful story. It finishes good because it's just a dream. We can project a dream, but the reality is something else. It is that in this world, nobody is God. And since nobody is God, everything can go well for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, and all of a sudden it's catastrophe. And then just a beautiful life can turn into a calamity. We see that everywhere. It's a reality. And so automatically, the problem, it is that in this condition, the living entity forgets his nature. For example, when you dream, when you awake, you forget your dream. Still, there was something that happened. It is explained. We have two lives, the state of dreaming and the state of awakening, of being awake. So in the same way, if we try to retrace at the same time, you can see like 30 years of your life where you cannot really remember what you felt 30 years ago at that same time. So there's a forgetfulness, and this forgetfulness is generated by time and the influences of the material energy, which allows for the living being to fulfill his desires, which is to competition with the Supreme Lord. Because if you will see the Supreme Lord everywhere, automatically we could not have this independence. This independence must be given to us, but the Lord must also allow us to forget, because it is our desire. We desire to forget. So automatically what happens in force of being unsatisfied, we will ask ourselves this question. We'll have this introspection because we have free will. And for this time, we will say, why do I suffer? Who am I? Does God exist? And we'll start to ask ourselves these questions. We'll turn naturally towards an element because we need help. So as long as we don't have help, it can go well, but it can go wrong. But the time we need help, that means we have to create a relationship. And then we want to start changing and understand what is our eternal nature. And this is at this moment that we can say that the Lord acts. Before, He observes. He gives the fruit of the activities as the Supreme Soul. We call Him Paramatma, Antaryami. But once, as soon as we desire help, then, at this point, the Lord will intervene in our life. And He will give us the intelligence, elements, so that we, ourselves, can progress and go towards Him. Because there's a free will. But if we go towards Him, He will give us the intelligence, the strength, the intuition. And from there, there's a relationship that starts manifest between us and Him. And that's what we call love. When this relationship does not exist, we call that kama, lust. That means lust, it is similar to a fire which destroys everything. Because for our own satisfaction, we're ready to kill so many living entities just to eat. But we could also just feed ourselves completely differently. So just for our satisfaction, we could destroy the world. We see that is what is happening. What our planet is destroyed. It's because it is for our satisfaction. So this kama is the worst enemy of the living entity. And he manifests when the relationship between the soul and the Supreme Soul is, as soon as it manifests again, automatically, we enter into harmony with all living entities and with Ishvarya, the Supreme Lord. And from there, we can understand the connection that is there between us and everything. When we go naturally, when we respect all living entities, nature, all living beings, because the soul is everywhere, it is in the blade of grass, it is in the tree. So the soul lives in all kinds of species of life. Whether it is the insect, the animals, fishes, plants, living, human beings, demigods. And it is according to their condition that they have a more like atrophied consciousness or not. The human being, for example, on earth, he has the consciousness by which we can understand the connection that connects us with the Lord. The animal, the plant, they can't do that. There's not enough consciousness. For example, when you bring a dog in a temple, you won't understand the nature of the room. But the human being can see the Supreme Lord. So there are consciousness that are different. That's when we associate too much with an animal, we have an animal consciousness. We regress in our consciousness. But an animal, if he associates with human beings, he can elevate himself to a certain level, but he does not have the possibility to go further. After he takes the birth as a human being, to go further. And the human being can also degrade himself. He can have his consciousness get lower like an animal and take birth as an animal. It is explained. This is why we must take full advantage of our human birth. But in this age, the most simple mean is, it is explained, is to connect ourselves to God, is His name. Because in the age in which we are now, living beings have little intelligence, they have very small duration of life. They are always disturbed by so many things, by hatred, by envy, by lust, by greed, by so many things. They are constantly disturbed by the phenomenon of time, living beings, sickness. And so, the Lord gives a process that is very simple. It is to chant His name. Because to chant the name of the Supreme Lord, there's no need for any rules. There's no need for time, place, and circumstance. We can do it in any condition, mentally, audibly, by murmuring. And in this age, the Lord especially reveals himself very easily through his name. That's why we chant the holy name. And it is very easy. And if we chant the name of the Lord with a consciousness, a pure consciousness, and a desire to reestablish our connection with him, so from there, he can reveal his form, his attributes, and his pastimes. At the spiritual level, the most complete thing is the holy name. But on the material level, through the sound, you cannot see the form, neither the actions of the living beings. You can have a little grasp, but not everything. But at the spiritual level, through the sound, you can obtain everything. That's why we should chant every day the holy name with a full consciousness. And there exists different names of the Supreme Lord. Haridas Thakur, he divides it into categories: the primary names and the secondary names. The secondary names, it is in relationship with his strength: creation, the great, the destructor, the maintainer, the Supreme Soul. And the primary names, it is in relationship with his personality, with his world and his devotees. But when we chant the primary name, we can awake our eternal nature and enter into the pastimes of the Lord. When we chant the secondary names, we can simply understand that the Lord is the Creator and there's only one creation, the creation of the Supreme Lord. That is why Sri Haridas Thakur, which is a great devotee of the Lord, he asked us to chant more the primary names. And the mantra Hare Krishna is constituted with the primary names of the Lord. Hare is a name that explains the quality of the Supreme Lord. It is that he can take out everything to his devotee, all the wrong things in his life, and also it can steal his heart. This name also can relate to the energy of love of the Supreme Lord, which we call Radha. Krishna means the infinitely fascinating, the one that contains all qualities in an unlimited way: charm, sweetness, beauty, everything. We say that there are 6 qualities. The one who possesses all of these qualities in fullness, in an infinite way, is God. So, when a jiva, a soul, when he chants the holy name and the Lord starts to reveal his qualities, they are not small qualities. It is something that will completely attract the soul and make him forget his false nature, to the point that the living entity becomes completely absorbed of what he was before. Even in his previous lives, he can become liberated from that. All the suffering, all the obstacles, all the attachments, from all disconnection with the family. And Ram, that means he accomplishes wonderful pastimes. The Lord has activities. From their activities, they are not like ourselves. They are not limited, and they are not imperfect. This is why these qualities can charm truly the living entities. And also, we are made to be with a person that loves us, to be with a person that allows us to be in all situations in a perfect way and wonderful. For example, a child, he wants to play, but he can never play like he wants. The parents are an obstacle. Remember when you were a child? We can never do whatever we want. There's always someone who tells you, that's enough, do that, stop, not like this, not like that. We're not free. The only times where we're good is when we want to do something behind their back and we become happy. It's not possible, they're never okay with that. means that maybe they were never kids, they don't remember that.
Donc on voit, on est
So
toujours
we
dans une
see we're
situation où
always
quand on est
in
grand,
a
il faut travailler parce que
situation
tout le monde a envie de travailler. Bon, hein,
when when we're adults, we need to work all the time. When you're a kid, you always want to play with fantastic people.
Voilà. Donc on est fait pour être
So
dans un
we're
monde où
made
tout
to
est
be in a world where
tout
everything
est
is given,
facile.
everything
On a
is
juste
easy.
besoin de se
We
donner
just need to
pour
give
être heureux.
ourselves to be happy.
Et ça, on peut pas l'avoir.
And this we cannot have it
Ça
in this world.
ressemble,
It looks like
mais
that,
c'est jamais comme on veut.
but it's never like we want.
Même l'amour avec une
Even
femme,
love with a wife or a man or a woman,
quelqu'un de charmant,
the charming prince,
avoir un homme avec des belles épaules,
to have a man with beautiful shoulders,
ça sent bon, etc.
smells good,
Pouvoir sans refuge, hein, et un homme.
and a man.
Bref, on connaît la cérémonie. Hein. Mais c'est jamais comme on veut. Jamais.
It's never like we want.
Jamais.
Never.
Il pue des fois.
He smells bad sometimes.
Il a une mauvaise haleine.
He has bad breath.
Il y a plein de choses comme ça qui peuvent être.
There's so many things like that.
Ouais.
It's never perfect.
Mais
But
quand Krishna donne son
when
refuge,
Krishna gives us shelter,
tout est là.
everything is there
D'une manière qui
in a way
peut être vivant.
that fulfills the living entity to the fullest of his heart. Because Krishna is unlimited, because there's a power that is given in order to meet the Lord. When we meet Krishna, we meet also the power to experience,
Je sais pas, comme un mineur
like
pourrait
a miner
pourrait
who
entrer
could
dans l'amour et
enter into love
comprendre de plus en plus
and know more and more what is love.
qu'il n'y a pas de
Because there's no limit
sentiment
in the feelings that we can experience with Krishna.
des qualités illimitées.
And Krishna has unlimited qualities.
Quand vous rencontrez un million,
When you see one quality in him, you see a million qualities. It expands constantly. And this is just like one quality. That's why the meeting with the Lord is not an ordinary meeting. It is wonderful traveling towards love. And all of this is possible by chanting the holy name. Why some people don't chant good and some people don't chant properly? That's why it's because some people desire Krishna and some people don't desire Krishna. When we feel good in this world, we cannot chant. But when we desire into the world of Krishna,
c'est pour ça que
so
naturellement,
that's why naturally,
les vies, il va avoir un
with
détachement qui va se
with time, he will have a detachment that will manifest itself and a desire to find this relationship. But without the desire, the relationship cannot happen. And the Lord, Yatamam Prapadyante, there's one thing that he does, is that he reciprocates with the living entities. So if our desire is not pure, he cannot come to us. He comes, but not as he is. So he comes as we want him to be. It's already pretty good. That's why we call the domain of religion. We will pray, and he will reciprocate. Of course, with this reciprocation, we will increase our faith, and there's a relationship that establishes itself. But it takes time. But when we're more advanced spiritually, and that we will study on the Lord, what is His form, what is His name, what are His attributes, what are His pastimes, it will create a desire to enter, to be with Him in His eternal form. So then, when we chant the primary names of the Lord, and that they are not in relationship with His creation, but with the plane of His eternal existence, so from there our desire will be in eternity. And then the Lord will be able to reciprocate with us and give us a vision of who we are truly in the transcendental world. That's what we call the kingdom of devotion of bhakti. And all of this is possible. And it's not so much. It is simply the desire. If we chant without desires, nothing happens. If we chant with pure desire, then experience comes. And when experience comes, we cannot never go back again because it's too wonderful. Never we will be able to forget. And we will aspire constantly to these experiences because He will be satisfying us completely. And that's why once we taste Krishna, we can never really taste anything else because everything is too small. Even through the exchanges of living entities, we taste Krishna. Even through food, we'll taste Krishna. Even through sport, we'll taste Krishna. So in all the exchanges, we'll taste Krishna because everything will be too small. We'll remember Him, and through this remembrance, all the relationships will be imbibed of this relationship with Krishna. That's what we call spiritual realization. From there, our actions will not bring forth consequences because they're pure. And they will purify the reactions of our previous lives and give us freedom. Once we're on this plane of existence, then we can constantly serve the Supreme Lord and never forget Him and never forget our reality. What do? We help living entities because we see they suffer. Because, in truth, even if people can have certain satisfaction, this satisfaction is so small, so small. So when someone is conscious of what a person can taste, he has compassion. It is just like, for example, if you have a little rotten cake and you have a big cake with strawberries, with cream, whipped cream, and someone will eat a little rotten cake, he will say it's so wonderful. If you show him a big cake at the end, taste that, it's better. Automatically, when you will taste the cheesecake, you will have so much more taste. But because we don't see anything else, or we don't experience anything else, we cannot understand anything else. But when we experience the higher taste, then we can reject. It's not that we reject, but we reject what we do without spiritual consciousness. Something done only based on selfish desires, only with the identification with the body. We will naturally reciprocate with the living entities, being conscious of our reality and their reality, and the connections that we all have with Krishna, the Supreme Lord. That's why, by studying the Bhagavad Gita, we can truly develop a pure desire and also have a life where we can understand why the world is like this, why there are reverses in life, and not be affected by all these things. We understand it is natural. If we create an imperfect world, why there will not be suffering? And if we want to be God, why we shouldn't take the reactions of our actions? Do we have the power to change nature? No. There are laws, universal laws. These laws, we cannot change them. But if we change these laws by our own laws, that means we don't have the power to change. That's why even if we create laws, still we're not completely in control. But still we try. Let's take, for example, the French laws. It's not so that people can suffer, it's for people to be happy. But every time it doesn't work, we want to change laws and change. It becomes more and more complicated to the point that we feel that we're oppressed. We don't have the right to do anything. Look, for example, the vaccine. Many people they say it's not possible. We're obliged to do this, to do that. There's many things that move. Why? Because some people want laws, because they're maybe 1 or 2 or 10 people, they want to take the life of 1,000 people, and they will say, for 70 million people in France it's like that. But who ordained this? So people, they are oppressed by laws, and they are obliged to lower their head, lower constantly their head. That's why there were revolutions, things like that. People, they're tired of it all. And the only way they can express themselves is through weapons, because there's an oppression. We cannot do anything, we just have to accept and accept and accept. That's the proof that these laws, they don't make us happy, because they cannot liberate us. They cannot make us understand our eternal nature. That is why we must go back to the universal laws. That doesn't mean we will reject the laws, but we will see it according to the universal laws. We can use the laws to liberate ourselves from the universal laws. The universal law is what? Is never to forget Krishna, the Supreme Lord. Always act for Him, because He is in the heart of the living entity. He's the heart of all living entities. He's the best friend of all living entities. As soon as we separate ourselves from Him, we suffer. We try to create wonderful happiness, but all living entities have problems.
C'est vrai.
It's true.
Un jour, il y a un saint
One day there's a saint that said that all living entities
en tant qu'âme conditionnée, on
as are not pure. As conditioned souls, we're not pure. And we think that with another conditioned soul, with marriage, we'll be happy. But finally, we see that it won't solve the problems. After we say, oh, maybe we can have kids, it adds problems. So there are always, we can never on our own solve the problems of material existence. But if we accept the universal laws of devotional service, so from inside the problems will be solved. Externally, there won't be any problems anymore. It will just be a way to serve. Thank you very much.